15 years ago this week, a Category 3 hurricane hit the U.S. Gulf Coast, causing massive devastation in Louisiana and Mississippi.
Katrina was the worst storm that I have ever chased in terms of just its raw power and size.
On August 23rd, Hurricane Katrina surfaced as a tropical depression over the Bahamas. 2 days later, it had grown into a Category 1 hurricane and hit Florida. By the time it reached the Gulf of Mexico, Katrina gained strength from the warm waters.
The warnings that were coming out of the National Weather Service were apocalyptic.
On August 29th, Katrina reached a Category 5 hurricane when it arrived at the U.S. Gulf Coast, and while it weakened to a Category 3, winds went as high as 200 kilometers per hour, slamming into Louisiana and Mississippi.
So think of how tall a two-story building is. That's how high the water was along the coast.
A week after Katrina was first formed, the devastation was starting to be realized. Over 80% of New Orleans was underwater, nearly 2,000 people killed, 2 million others were without power, and thousands without homes. All told, Katrina cost the U.S. about $161 billion in damages, one of the costliest hurricanes in U.S. history. 15 years later, communities hit by the natural disaster continue to feel the pain the destruction left and remember those they lost.
We wanted to honor the lives of the folks who passed during the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and also just celebrate the New Orleanians who are rebuilding.
Sess is one of the many who marks the disaster every year since 2006. He also raises awareness for the racial inequalities and inadequacies in the government's response after Katrina.
Well, we want to make sure that no one ever forgets, what happened to, black citizens. They left folks on the roofs and, on the bridges in the Superdome and Convention Center for over 5 days with no assistance.
Since then, many cities along the U.S. Gulf Coast have rebuilt and people have reestablished